Good afternoon, Australia. Welcome to Sydney for the start of a new series of Saturday Super League. Round 1 of the 1990 Winfield Cup. And if 1989 was any guide, what a year we have in store for you. Who could ever forget these emotional scenes from last year's grand final? And it's perhaps fitting that the Sydney Football Stadium, the scene of such excitement in '89, is the venue for today's live clash on ABC Sport. The Rabbitohs of South Sydney, last season's minor premiers and desperate to go one better this year against Canterbury Bankstown, the premiers of 1988. Now under new coach Chris Anderson, they're keen to make the 90s as successful as the 80s for the Bulldogs. This is the first of 22 live Saturday games you'll see on ABC Sport. And to bring you all the excitement of the greatest game of all, your host, Warren Bowling.
Good afternoon, everyone. Right round Australia from the Sydney Football Stadium for what should be a hard-fought start to the season. South have a strong pack of forwards, led by robust skipper Mario Fenech, also Sedaris and Davidson, skillful and mobile. And in the second row, a new face, Mark Carroll, out to prove himself. Coach George Piggins dropped Phil Blake during the week for turning up late at training, and that leaves an inexperienced backline outside Craig Coleman. The most interesting selection is big Charlie Saab at 5'8", but out wider, the backs could struggle for combination in attack and defence. The Canterbury backline has a more familiar look about it, Lamb, Farah and Alchin, but the man who has to take his opportunity at halfback is Kevin Moore. The key players will be Paul Langmack at lock, calling the shots, together with Terry Lamb. It's a strong second row, David Gillespie, the experienced Paul Dunn, but up front is unknown. Mark Brokenshift, formerly from Manly, and up-and-coming Dean Pay, holding up Geordie Peach, the hooker. Well, joining me this year with expert commentary is a legend of rugby league, Arthur Beetson. Artie, great to have you with us. Do you think this new-look Canterbury front row can contain Fenech, Sedaris and Davidson?
Warren, there's no doubt that Chris Anderson's taking a big risk, but the only player there with experience is Brokenshaw. With Geordie Peach and Dean Pay, I can think of better ways of learning the trade than coming up against blokes of the calibre of Davidson, Fenech and Sedaris. In answer to the question, I don't think I can hold them up front, mate.
So a question mark over the Canterbury front row, question over the South back line, but I think we're into some fine football.
Stay viewing for rugby league action at its best, live and uninterrupted on ABC Sport, your national network.
Perfect day for rugby league here at the Sydney Football Stadium. Fine sunny skies, just a light breeze, and the stadium surface really does look a picture. Waiting for the two teams to take the field, great rivals over the last couple of decades, these sides. In fact, South have never beaten Canterbury Bankstown here at the stadium, so I wonder whether today they'll break that duck. Well, down on the sideline, joining us again this season is former Australian representative Johnny Peard. Johnny, how's things looking?
Thanks very much, Warren. Well, down on ground level, conditions are ideal for this very interesting game. I think the South's mobility will be the key, and Canterbury will be relying on their experienced back row. Should be a beauty.
Taking the field, the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Mario Fenech leads them out. Craig Coleman, Les Davidson. What a power pack it is. Wayne Chisholm, a late replacement for Darren Brown, the second rower. Adam O'Neill gets his chance in first grade again. He'll be looking to make everything a winner. The lineup at fullback is Scott Wilson. On one wing, Adam O'Neill. Steve O'Day in the centres. Terry Hill alongside him. Charlie Saab in at 5'8". The front row, Andrews, Chisholm and Carroll in the second row. Fenech, Sedaris, Davidson. Coach George Piggins. Mario Fenech leading the team out. And what a game he'll be looking for today. The Bulldogs led out by the mercurial Terry Lamb and David Gillespie, the hulking second rower just behind him. Terry Lamb just walking out steadily. He's not going to race out there. That shows the control that Canterbury are looking for today. At fullback, Jason Alchin. The three-quarters, Robinson, Farah, Corcoran and Raymond. Lamb and Moore, the halves. The lock forward, the very experienced Paul Langmack. The second row is Gillespie and Dunn, and that's front row. Pay and Pete, just 20 years old, broken shear making up the front row. Coach Chris Anderson. Well, Terry Lamb, he's the skipper of the Bulldogs today. He's been given that honour by Chris Anderson, but with it comes responsibility. Mario Fenech patrolling, and both these teams will be keyed up for a big performance to open up the Winfield Cup for 1990. In fact, the last time they met in round 2 of last year, it was a draw between these two, 18-all here at the stadium. Craig Coleman, very skillful halfback. He'll be controlling the play around the rucks with Jim Sedaris. And a good crowd here for South Sydney. This is a home game for the Rabbitohs. And plenty of enthusiastic supporters for them. The referee, Greg McCallum. Everything in readiness for the start of this big match. And we're underway. Kicked straight down the centre of the field and quickly gathered in there by Mark Carroll, former Penrith player with the Rabbitohs this season, looking to make a big impact. Early result in under 21s, a win for Canterbury, 22-14. Turnover of possession here with the Bulldogs, and a bit of a dust-up in the back play as well. Gillespie in there, so is Fenwick. Touch judge on the field, play goes on. So Canterbury in possession, 20 metres out. Lamb in at dummy half. Out it goes some more. Picks up Langmack. The penalty goes against... well, we're just late for McCallum. He's calling out a player going against South Sydney, and it's Les Davidson about to be cautioned. There was an incident in the back play, but that wasn't what caused the penalty. Sedaris getting a pass away. That was the loss of the possession.
If you go back there, I think it's Mario Fenwick took umbrage against the tackle. He coughed the ball up under pressure, and I think you'll find that he really didn't appreciate the tackle on him there. He did spill the ball, but it could have been a little bit high on Fenwick.
They were moving up very quickly on him. Fenwick was close to the dummy half. So both captains in there, alongside also Michael Andrews, and a word there for Geordie Peace. The penalty goes to Canterbury, right in front of the post. So it looks as if the incident on the ground was between Michael Andrews and Geordie Peace coming to blows. I think they came in just after the ball was spilled by Fenwick. Phil Blake on the sidelines, turned up late for training during the week, and George Higgins enforcing discipline, as he did last year. Anyone who turned up late for training at South Sydney finds himself in reserve grade, and Blake played a full game in reserve grade. In fact, I'm somewhat surprised that neither coach has allowed any fresh reserves for this match.
No, later on, there's no doubt that they'll be looking to their reserves. The replacements will certainly play a major role.
Terry Lamb has scored over 1,000 points in first grade for Canterbury Bankstown. In he moves, right in front, and the flags are up. So Canterbury Bankstown hits the lead after just 3 minutes of play, and they lead South Sydney 2-0. That's the easy way to pick up 2 points early in the game. John, does there appear to be much feeling between the two teams?
Well, obviously, these two arch rivals, really, there's a lot of feeling. There's some big hits out there, and while the big hits are physical, after a while they become mental, because you don't like to absorb all that punishment. But I can assure you there's a lot of rookies out there, too, on the field today. But they can all play football, and obviously George Piggins has considered more rookies in his side, as obviously throwing the kids on the horse. He knows they can ride it.
Canterbury Bankstown in possession, taking play outside their quarter line. The late replacement for them was Mark Robinson on the wing for Glenn Nissen. South Sydney up inside the 5. Penalty to Canterbury Bankstown. Back a good 10 metres, but let's see if they move up in front too early. And getting out there towards the 5/8 position, up in front of the referee, who is back a good 10. Penalties, 2-0 to the Bulldogs. Now Geordie Peace will take the tap. Kevin Moore links up with the strong running Mark Brokenshire, formerly of Manly Warringah. Plenty of experience in Brokenshire, 29 years old. Out it goes to Dunn, trying to bust his way through the defence. But in comes Andrews. Moore swings it wide. Lamb juggles it. Around Farah. Lamb into the clear on the outside of his man. Looking for support. Can he get the pass away? No. Good cover defence. Swooping in on Lamb. Adam O'Neill. But Canterbury right on the attack. Moore picks up Dean Pay. 10 metres short of the line. Moore looks for a little space, finds half a hole, can't get it away to Dunn. It's the last tackle, 10 metres out. Canterbury right on the attack, looking to the blind side to Alchin. Up it goes. coming down in the field of play. Wilson flies for it. The ball comes down to Canterbury. It's 6 more tackles. A real chance here for the Bulldogs. Just 9 metres out and 6 tackles up their sleeve. Dunn almost grabbed for that ball. It looked like he was going to spill it for a moment. Just going across field towards the post. Moore goes, then hands it out to Pay. Slips a good ball away to Brokenshire. On it goes, out wide. Desperate tackle there. From dummy half goes Peets, it is. Pulled up just short of the line. Plays it back. Canterbury well set. Moore goes wide. Long pass from Langmack. Gillespie slips a loose pass away. Adam O'Neill gathers for South Sydney, and that relieves the pressure, which has been considerable.
The thing I like about Canterbury, Warren, is that they're prepared to set their back line very deep. And it's paying a lot of dividends at the moment.
O'Neill played that ball forward and managed to draw a penalty. There was the loose pass. O'Neill draws it in.
Very fortunate. They certainly had numbers in that area.
O'Neill got to his feet, played the ball forward, wasn't marked, almost was marked by Gillespie, but they were up inside the 5. And already South Sydney have been called on to make a lot of tackles, in fact 20 tackles to Canterbury's 2. But here's a turnover of possession, first tackle, possession given away.
Great hit by Brokenshire there.
Dunn. Just short of the halfway line. Peets at dummy half. Gets the pass away to Pay. Like fumble at dummy half, and in fact there's been interference there, or poor play the ball at least, and the penalty goes to South Sydney.
If you have a look here, he wasn't allowed. It could have went either way here. There's no doubt I think the penalty could have went to Canterbury. They were a bit unlucky there. I think that the South player, Wayne Chisholm, did hold Dean Pay down there, so I think that the penalty really went the wrong way.
Referee saying that the player didn't get to his feet properly to play the ball, but as you say, Arthur, it could easily have gone either way. Now another chance for South Sydney here in possession. Davidson, crunching run, takes on the Canterbury front row. South forwards overrunning the play. It was a slow play the ball. That forced Sedaris to run himself. Out now from Coleman to Carroll. 30 metres out. Davidson steps off his right, trying to thread his way. Gets a good ball to Fenwick. Long pass out. Here they go through Terry Hill. Terry Hill on the outside of Farah, but Robinson comes off his wing to cut him down. O'Neill at dummy half. Fenwick. Fenwick loses the ball. It was knocked down out of his hands. Canterbury come up with possession. Diving on the ball was Gillespie. A little bit of loose play by both teams early on, handing over possession early in the tackle count. Canterbury on their own 22. Played by Pete. Moore to Dunn. You saw Carroll coming his way. And quick defence moving up on Pay. To Farah for the kick. Ball bouncing towards the touchline. Scott Wilson across and gathers it well. Quickly set sail back upfield, but there's a wall of Canterbury defenders and a good strong tackle by Farah, ball and all. Sedaris. Coleman wants it wide. Out it goes to Saab. Saab can't get away from the diving tackle of Gillespie. 5 metres short of halfway, but they don't clear him. It was a good tackle by Gillespie, but then the two of them, both Gillespie and also Corcoran, going on with the tackle.
It's just a simple case of Gillespie compounding it here. He came up with a good tackle, wouldn't let him play the ball.
Corcoran involved as well. Saab looking for the penalty and he got it. Saab playing at 5'8" today. Was picked originally in the centre, but then going to 5'8" with Blake on the sideline. O'Neill gets the answer from the forward for running in there from the tap. 30 metres out. Goes to Davidson. He's looking for support. Can't get it away to Wilson. Coleman looks it back inside. On the quarter line. Coleman again for Saab. Bustling 5'8". Just 15 metres out, right in front of the post. Fenwick. Saab. Loose ball. Picked up by Sedaris. He's swung to ground, but gets it back to Davidson. They keep it alive through Coleman. On it goes. It's the last tackle. 12 metres out. South trying to string something together here. Fenwick on the blind. Sedaris puts it on the toe. Gathered in by Alton, though. No pressure for him. Plenty of defenders taking a bit of a chance in front of their post. Lamb back on the inside to Corcoran. Corcoran can't bust the tackle of Carroll underneath. Good tackle by Hill also. Alton. Away to Dunn. Dunn going forward. Of course, Jason Alton back from a serious knee injury last year. The ball's gone loose. And South Sydney in possession. Good work there by Steve O'Day to collect the loose ball. Graham Lyons into the action.
Yeah, he just went to throw the dummy there, and unfortunately the ball slipped out of his hand. But we're very impressed with Canterbury at the moment. They're prepared to give the ball plenty of air.
Davidson, just outside the Canterbury quarter. Carroll, taking it up. It's the fifth tackle. Coleman stabs back towards the blind side. Alton in his in-goal area, hoping the ball will bounce dead, and it does. But he may have put a boot on it at the last moment. No, says the referee. Alton waiting for that ball to bounce dead.
In my opinion, the referee erred here. He should look for his touch, but I think he's definitely kicked the ball. Yes, it should have been a line dropout, no doubt about it.
The ball was actually in the air over the dead ball line, but Alton, realising the danger, did tow it dead. A let-off there for Canterbury, who could have been dropping out from between their sticks. Instead, they're in possession, and they're midway between the quarter and halfway. Heath, the dummy half, switches it to Moore. Langmack gets the pass out to Corcoran. Moore, heavily involved in organising the play, has a run this time. Halfback has to vary it occasionally. Hay, just short of the halfway.
Yes, I don't think there's any doubt here from the sideline that Chris Anderson's done a bit of homework. He's working on the fact that South Sydney have got two inexperienced centres, and what they're trying to do is work the play to the centre and catch them out of position by going down either side of the field. Canterbury's doing it well at this stage.
A good kick by Terry Lamb, driving the Rabbitohs back towards their own goal line. Canterbury leading 2-0. We've had 13 minutes of play. An early penalty to Terry Lamb. Now looks to be a problem with the ball. Let's have a look at the metres gained so far in the match. South Sydney 166, but Canterbury doing better, 229, and it's a South Sydney ball. Canterbury up inside the 5. Paul Langmack, one of the offenders, because he wasn't alone. Terry Lamb also up there, and Paul Dunn.
Well, I just hope the referee shows a little bit more consistency. He's allowed the 10-metre rule to lapse a little bit. Both sides are definitely creeping inside the 5.
Saab looks for touch. Doesn't gain all that much ground, just 10 metres or so. There's the referee, Greg McCallum. Steve O'Day. A little more variation this time than the suicide run we saw from Adam O'Neill a little while back. Back on the inside is Andrews. Saab looks for Sidaris. Good pass back to Saab. Tries to shrug off one tackle. Almost manages to do so. Lamb clinging on. Still going is Saab. Now the referee is calling out Andrew Farah and another player as well.
There's no doubt Andrew Farrell will be very lucky to stay on the field here. Apparently he's just thought that a caution was sufficient. If that would have connected, God knows, he might have needed the stretcher.
I think Charlie Saab's head would have landed in the Sydney cricket ground if Andrew Farrell's forearm had hit then. Saab just managing to duck under it.
We might hear more about that later.
It was a very forceful forearm from Farah. Admittedly, Saab was low and ducking, but it was a vicious tackle. Penalties favouring South Sydney 5-2. And South having plenty of possession. 32 metres out. Coleman. Chisholm. Gets it back to Wilson. On it goes. Coleman looks for Saab. Gets it to him. It was low. The ball left behind by Saab. But they managed to retain possession through Fennick, and the scrum will pack down. It was a low pass from Coleman. He tried to get it past Corcoran. He did that, but it was low for Saab, and he couldn't hang on to it.
Certainly was a hot one, there's no doubt about it, but they did have the numbers there, but good defence by Henry Raymond also.
From Winter Canterbury, Lamb cuts across field, but Saab rounds him up. We thought there would be an interesting battle between Terry Lamb, the terrier, against the fairly bulky figure of Charlie Saab. It has been a good battle so far. Alchin looks to get the pass away. It's gone loose. Coleman picks it up. Sedaris. Farah takes him. Ball and all. A healthier tackle this time. Hill, the replacement centre, coming in with the withdrawal of Blake, or the dropping of Blake. Coleman. Saab. Wilson gets it out to O'Day. Adam O'Neill leaves it behind, regathers, but lost the opportunity. Moore. O'Neill still going, just short. Good recovery by O'Neill, but he's just a metre short. South on the attack. Coleman wants it. He's rounded up by Langmack. Gets it back to Davidson. On it goes. Saab holds it up. Desperate defence. 9 metres out. Right in centre field. Fenech. Coleman. Long pass. Out to Sedaris. Sedaris keeps it alive. Hill. 9 metres short still. It's the 5th tackle. From dummy half goes Lyons. Lyons back inside to Hill. Hill gets it down in the corner. Great bit of thinking there by Lyons and Hill. And South Sydney have scored the first try of the match. And they lead 4 points to 2. South Sydney stringing the passes together to work themselves into this position. Applying the pressure, but then quick thinking by Graham Lyons at dummy half. He went himself. Hill realised it was on, supported him on the inside. Great pass. The South Sydney defence, should say the Canterbury defence arriving too late. Look at Lyons, the pace of the man, off the mark. Lamb comes in to try and save it with Raymond. Farah can't stop the try, and Hill scores.
There's no doubt about it. It certainly was a great pass like young Lyons, but young Timmy Hill, he really got low on this. This is the way to score the try. If you're near the line, you're very hard to stop. Great try, Terry Hill.
Terry Hill from Zetland in the South Sydney area. Captain of the New South Wales under-17s last year. Plenty of youth in this South Sydney side.
There'll be a happy mum out there at Western Suburbs Soccer Club. His mother works out there on the reception, so she'll certainly be very happy.
Fine lead up to that try by South Sydney. They had the advantage of having possession, and they've been able to string quite a few tackles together, but they're keeping the ball alive. Notice that Jim Sedaris has been working quite wide of the ruck too. Coleman has been linking up with him.
Well, there's no doubt that was just a result of great pressure there, but they bombed what could have been a chance with Adam O'Neill there. They had the overlap, and unfortunately Adam fumbled the ball a little bit, but he did well to nearly score the try anyway, but it could have been scored a few rucks earlier.
Charlie Saab has the ball placed out very wide, moves into it, hits it well. Good kick from Saab, straight between the posts. And South Sydney lead Canterbury Bank now 6 points to 2.
Yes, well, here you see the try-scoring play where Graham Lyons showed very good reflexes to flick the ball back in field, but this was preceded by some tremendous play from one side of the field to the other. An entertaining game despite the turnovers.
South Sydney with the first try of the match after players swung from one end of the field to the other.
John, you were saying before there's a lot of rookies out there. South's average age is 21 and Canterbury's 24.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, isn't it, Arthur? I mean, you would have thought they'd take a few years to ground them in the grade soon, but this is not happening these days. They're playing with so much confidence, these young players.
No, they've certainly got great skills. They've got great coaches.
Good bust up the middle there by Wayne Chisholm. He'll be very keen to cement his first grade spot. Coleman keeps them going backwards with a good long driving kick, sending Alchin back into his own territory. Down there is Hill and O'Neill. Hill can't get hold of Alchin, who manages to squeeze between the two of them, but they come again. From the wing, Robinson forced to take it up the middle. Canterbury still coming back on side. Moore, but South Sydney up inside the 5, in close to the ruck, moving up on the blind side, and never really got back.
The culprit here is Mark Carroll. I think he just never moved back the 5 at all, never made an attempt to, so he was going to get involved in the tackle there, so definitely offside.
Farah finds touch, gains 20 metres. Let's see if Canterbury can put 6 tackles together. Broken shear. Pete's in a dummy half. Moore. Dunn. Hands it back to Moore. On the blind side, Langmack. Dummies one way to Gillespie. Intercept by Sedaris. So Canterbury making too many errors. They're just not applying enough pressure. They had the set move there, but bungled it. Bennett. The metres gained. Should be still favouring Canterbury. No, South Sydney have managed to get back in front now. Carroll just short of halfway. Davidson. Sedaris. Wilson standing up from fullback. Good support play from Wilson. He wants to get involved. They work the blind side. Coleman. Again, another long angle kick, but it's out on the full.
Arthur, a highlight of South's early play is the fact that they're using Craig Coleman one off the ruck, in direct contrast to last season. You might remember he's playing a dummy half.
You're right there, John. There's no doubt about it. He did lay on a great ball there before he cut out a couple of men, and actually he supplied the pass that made the overlap for Adam O'Neill.
Yeah, I think he gets better vision from that first off the ruck area.
Poor football there by Jamie Corcoran. First tackle, he dropped the ball and handed over possession. Canterbury cannot afford this. Errors all the way against Canterbury at the moment. And most of those are drop balls. So another chance for South in a useful attacking position. Keeping it alive. Coleman. Sharp, juggles and loses. The ball's still alive. Wilson will force the scrum. Canterbury slow to come in and dive on that loose ball.
There's no doubt about it. Chris Anderson will be very unhappy with their ball control. Now, there's just a game of fumbles here at the moment. No one can get the ball. It might be a little bit greasy. It might be just early season jitters.
Yes, I think we'll put it down to early season jitters, even though these teams have had a more thorough preparation. Coleman almost intercepts, runs away, but he'll have to come back. The rabbit was out of the trap there.
Possibly penalty could have went. If you have a look, a penalty should have went, no doubt, straight away to Canterbury. He never applied the 5 at all behind the scrum at all.
Canterbury have the ball this time from the scrum. Langmack, done. Andrews comes in. Plenty of heavy defence. Davidson in there with Andrews, but they keep it alive. Out it goes to Farah. Farah overrun by Robinson. Had to hang on to the ball. South Sydney determined. Come in and bury Farah. Moore. Brokenshire. A fair lump of a player is Mark Brokenshire. He hasn't had much luck with injuries in the last couple of years. Broken his arm twice while with Manly Warringah. Pete with the kick. Torpedo punt, splitting the winger and the fullback. Both Lyons and Wilson back there. Wilson gathers. A good line of Canterbury defenders down there. Lyons goes the blind side. Tries to get back inside Corcoran. 10 metres short of halfway. Coleman. Saab. Those big thighs of Charlie Saab almost breaking the tackle of Gillespie. Davidson. Bumped into the ground. Bit of a disagreement with Andrew Farah in the back play. No punches thrown, just a few words spoken. Lamb plays the ball. Done. Peets. Peets is a busy player. 10 metres inside South Sydney territory. South's leading 6 points to 2. Langmack gets a good pass away. Brokenshire inside to Gillespie in space. Lyons comes at him. The ball touched by Andrews. Alton. 6 more tackles. Ball touched in flight. Canterbury have the backs well set. Moore. Langmack. Out back it goes to the half-back. Andrews buries him. Terry Lamb. Back to Moore. Moore not too sure where to go. Pete has it. Lack of support for him there. A little bit of disorganisation. They had the backs well set in the first place. Alton up in the line. Lamb darts back inside. Alton again. Thinks about kicking, but his feet go from under him. Canterbury now bunched in the middle. Moore. Langmack. Wide as Farah. Ankle tapped by Saab. And also O'Day comes over the top. It's the last tackle. Up it goes from Moore. Close to the post. Pressure here for Wilson. Plenty of Canterbury players coming through. But they got there very quickly. And you can see the referee's decision. Canterbury offside in front of the kicker. coming through was Geordie Peach.
There's no doubt Geordie Peach was about 10 yards offside here, and the referee caught him.
It was a useful bomb by Moore. The players had been onside. That really would have applied some pressure to Wilson, who seemed to get a little lost behind the post there.
I've been a little bit disappointed with Canterbury's play once they get inside the 22. I think that they could possibly use the grubber in behind the line.
It seemed to need a couple of more straight runners. If not to take the ball, to at least take the pressure off the men a little wider. Sedaris flips a good ball away. Coleman to Carroll. Out it goes from Saab. Hill finally buried. But once again, South Sydney unloading beautifully. Carroll didn't really take the ball on the burst. And the referee has given... No, he hasn't given a penalty. Must have found a forward pass. I thought that Carroll was onside, but he knew he was in danger of overrunning the pass.
A little bit unfortunate there, South. They had the numbers there, but Mark Robinson came up with a great tackle, great ball and all tackle on young Hill.
Canterbury ball, Lamb. On the South Sydney quarter line, just short of it. Alchin. Back to Pete. Tries to get his arms free, but Wilson drives in with the shoulder. Bay. He's knocked over. The South Sydney defence has been quite solid. Pete gets it to Moore. Dunn holds up the pass for Langmack. Good ball for Terry Lamb. Lamb sprinting to the line and he'll score. Great try to Terry Lamb. Nice ball to him. And Canterbury hit back with a good try to level the scores at 6-all. A couple of nice passes there. Put Terry Lamb into the gap. Alton has been up in the play. There's Dunn. Little ball to Langmack, but he then passes it out to Terry Lamb, who hits the gap on the burst. That was the secret.
There's no doubt about there's some short passes here. There's great short passing, and yeah, Langmack puts Lamb right into the hole here. Great running onto the ball.
Mario Fennick was trying to cut off Lamb, but he was just too good for him. So Terry Lamb, what a great player he's been for Canterbury and West before that, but a Canterbury junior. 217 first-grade games he's racked up. In fact, this makes 218. South Sydney a little disappointed. They've been playing a pretty good brand of football, but you can't afford to lapse even just for a moment. So Lamb will attempt to convert his own try to put Canterbury in the lead. Mario Fennick behind the post, just telling South Sydney what they're going to have to do to tighten up. That was great work by Paul Dunn and also Paul Langmack. Both very skillful men. Lamb, 10 metres in from touch. Waved away though, and the score remains. South and Canterbury lost that 6-all, and we've got 12 minutes remaining in the first half.
Well, there's no doubt Canterbury worked for this. They worked the ball into the centre field, and they're really working on South in the edges, but some good short passes were the key. And here's Terry Lamb slotting himself straight into the gap, and his pace does the rest. They ought to call this bloke Jockstrap. He always offers great support.
Well, they call him Barbar instead, but the kick-off. Zeke trying to get play back upfield is Robinson. Farah. Sedaris and Chisholm doing the tackling.
There's number 12. You said that was number 12 for Jimmy Sedaris. He's the leading tackler on the field at the moment.
Yes, Sedaris and Chisholm getting through plenty of work for South Sydney, and Brokenshire leading the way for Canterbury in the defensive aspect of the game. Canterbury, a little bit of confusion. Peach goes himself. Couldn't find the man he was looking for. Canterbury very flat at the moment. No one deep. They're all looking to chase the kick downfield. It goes to Farah. And he finds the open spaces, kicking away from Wilson. Useful kick, but Wilson very mobile at fullback. Plenty of speed and a good swerve there. Almost through the tackle.
The chasing team is very slack there, Warren.
Desperate tackle there from Lamb, and also Pay. Here's a good run too from Hill. So South Sydney have picked up 30 metres the easy way there. 2 tackles, probably 35 metres. Canterbury not getting back and setting the defence. Chisholm to play the ball. Coleman Saab. Saab steps off his left foot. Great pass inside to Sedaris. Wilson is there. Wilson looking for support. Comes to Elton. Slips the ball back inside. Still it goes on with Sedaris. Finds support in Coleman. The pass went forward. Coleman was underneath the post, but the pass was definitely forward. Good work by Charlie Saab early on. He steps off his left foot, makes the bust. Good pass back on the inside to Sedaris. Wilson looming up in support. He couldn't find a man clear at first. Tries to get away from Elton. The pass was loose on the ground. On it goes to Sedaris, backing up once again. And this is the pass that went forward. Coleman had overrun it. Good hands once more by South Sydney, who look dangerous every time they've got the ball. Still 6-all the score. Canterbury back where they've been for a good part of the match, around their own quarter area. Alchin out to Corcoran. Carroll around his legs. Saab over the top. Alchin at dummy half, runs, done. Alchin not spending much time back at fullback. He's starting to get involved right around the play the ball. Barra. Ball is knocked down. It's anyone's ball now. And Fenwick dives on it under pressure from Dunn. Interference from Dunn in the play the ball. Penalty South Sydney. Well, bad football by Paul Dunn. He did well. He chased the kick through after it was deflected, but then just simply didn't let him play the ball. The tackle had been affected.
There's no doubt this is a hangover from the Warren Ryan's days when you tried to slow the play the ball down, and obviously Paul hasn't kept up with the times.
Even seen Phil Gould through. South take advantage of the penalty once more. Lyons. Midway between the Bulldogs, quarter and halfway. Sedaris out to Andrews. Andrews leaves the ball behind. Sedaris picks it up. Coleman. Saab. Saab steps up his right this time. Back on the inside is Wilson. Wilson knows the way to back up, right up the middle. He's taking a leaf out of Terry Lamb's book. We notice Saab can step off both feet. Fenwick loses the ball. Wilson dives on it, but the scrum will be played. So South Sydney just trying things a little too fancy there.
No doubt about it. Warren from the sideline here. Souths are causing them all sorts of problems just with their size. They've got 6 big forwards. Craig Coleman, they've got big Charlie Saab, who from the sideline he looks like a block of flats on the edge of the ruck. So I mean, Canterbury's got it all to do in defence, and they've got a handful here.
It was just 8 minutes remaining till half-time. The score's are locked, even though South Sydney have looked the better side. The error count has evened itself up. And Canterbury have just let themselves down a little in the last 15 minutes with their handling. I should say South Sydney. The penalty here goes to the Bulldogs.
Just have a look here, yeah.
Corcoran with the ball, but South Sydney all over him after the referee obviously called hell.
The message must have went out there to back Charlie Saab up. There's no doubt he's causing Canterbury the most problems at the moment.
Dean Pay. Played President's Cup last year. Formerly from Dubbo. Broken shear.
I think tackling Charlie Saab all day would have to reduce your IQ.
You've been reading the joke book in the off-season, Pearty.
I've circuited Jack before the game.
Jack Gibson played us a visit. Farah gets the ball back to Alton. Alton manages to pick it up. Keeps play going. Just a few rough edges about Canterbury's combination so far in the half. Dunn back inside to Gillespie. Good tackle by Fenwick. Gillespie plays it forward. He had moved off the mark, but he certainly wasn't marked. It's the last tackle. 30 metres out. Up it goes from Moore. Good high kick. Wilson waiting underneath. Lamb through. Almost pinches the ball out of his arms, but plenty of courage from Scott Wilson. There's a battle on for the fullback spot in South Sydney this year. David Cruikshank's gone. Bronco de Jura's gone. Scott Wilson looks set to make it his.
Certainly a great take here by Scott Wilson. There was certainly plenty of pressure from Barbo, and a great take.
That was a good bomb by Kevin Moore. That's 2 good kicks he's put up high and put the pressure on Wilson, but he shows he's equal to the task that time. Sedaris steps away from one. Fenwick out to Saab. Saab kicks. Down to Robinson. Robinson, formerly from Penrith, was looking to play with Parramatta. He's left the ball, and the referee hasn't missed it. Bad mistake from Mark Robinson. He was to be signed by Parramatta, but this week he was a victim of the salary cap. Finds himself in first grade with Canterbury Bankstown today, but that mistake, disappointing one.
Certainly a David and Goliath confrontation there with David winning. Mark Robinson being 15.5 stone and young Adam O'Neill are probably 11.5 stone.
Quick word to the skippers there. Terry Lamb packing in at lock forward, and Paul Langmaker's at 5'8". Scrums Canterbury 7-2, but none against the feed. O'Neill plays it back. Coleman, Saab, takes the tackle of Alton. He loses the ball, but the penalty has gone to South Sydney. The ball being raked out after the tackle had been effected. Called held by the referee. Alchiner was in first of all.
No, definitely the tackle had been made, and
I think it was Paul Dunn underneath.
Paul Dunn stripping the ball, giving away a certain 2 points here.
The penalties mounting against Canterbury, 8-4. Saab really has made his presence felt. Originally picked as a centre. He is a big strapping man.
You certainly wouldn't want the law after you. Charlie Saab is a policeman. I'd hate to have him chasing you.
Lebanese parents, Charlie Saab from Marrickville. He's 93 kilograms and he's 5'11" frame. Terry Lamb is injured, slowly to his feet, looks a little dazed. Charlie Saab spent some time down at the Goulburn Police Academy, and now he's a fully fledged policeman. He has the ball placed. In he comes, makes no mistake, and Canterbury, I should say South Sydney, do take a well-earned lead, 8 points to 6. So their performance has been such that they could well have extended that lead throughout this half.
Surprising half, Warren. Canterbury have missed 15 tackles and South 5, and yet the score is only 8-6.
I suppose one of the tackles that was missed let Terry Lamb straight through. In fact, well, he didn't really have a hand on him, did he? Farah gets play underway. Into the in-goal area, spilled badly by Sidaris. Well, we're seeing some fundamental errors in this match. Maybe it is a little early in the season. Sidaris all set to take that one on the full.
There's no doubt about these, John. These are coach killers, aren't they?
They sure are, Artie. They make your hair go grey, although...
Thank you, John. Just keep it to yourself.
So it'll be a drop out from between the posts. Very important time here for Canterbury in particular to apply some pressure. Alton. Nathan Alton, to me, looks just to be still slightly inconvenienced by that heavily strapped right knee. Dunn gets it back to Alton. Corcoran, wrapped up by O'Day and Andrews. Just short of the quarter line. Moore out to Gillespie. Bustles his way forward, meets Carroll head on with Chisholm round his leg. Peets. Moore, Lamb. Back inside is Farah. Andrews has one angle. Alton rounded up by Coleman, gets it away. Peets. But the Canterbury defence, I should say the South Sydney defence, keeps swarming in. Langmack, Corcoran. It's the fifth tackle. 15 metres out. Lamb hoists it high and across field. Over there is O'Neill. Bumped out of the way by Robinson, but Robinson offside in front of the kicker. In fact, he was standing alongside O'Neill as the ball was only just reaching its apex.
There's no doubt about it here that if he'd only been back 2 yards, you'd have been able to put a little bit more pressure on young Adam O'Neill. But he was definitely inside the 5.
Yeah, he's certainly got the statistics on his side. I mean, he's 6'4", and it's not a bad play, really, a kick to the wings, particularly when you're marking someone like Adam O'Neill, who's well short of 6 foot.
So Adam O'Neill would have been feeling very uncomfortable under that ball, waiting for it to come down, knowing there was someone that much taller right alongside him. Tackle made by Peets, who's getting through plenty of defence. Hill Gets away nicely from dummy half. Carroll. Sedaris in a dummy half. He's worked well. Fenwick gets the ball away to Coleman. Beautiful ball from Fenwick. Sedaris spins it wide. Chisholm. Inside is Davidson. Beautiful hands from the South Sydney players. It's the fifth tackle. Coleman gets the kick across field. Back goes Robinson. Takes it well. Good hands. Reaching back over his shoulder. Alston. Out it goes to Henry Raymond, who we haven't seen a great deal of. Alston, as the siren sounds, Alston looking for support. Langmack wants to keep it alive. Raymond, and he takes the tackle of Saab, and that is half-time. It's been a spirited performance from both teams, but certainly South Sydney have looked the better. And the players looking a little weary as they leave the field after having played a half of football, not 2 quarters. So at half-time, it's South Sydney leading Canterbury Bankstown 8 points to 6.
This is ABC Sport, bringing you all the action of round 1 of the Winfield Cup, live and uninterrupted around Australia. Today, a special welcome to Newman in Western Australia. This area, famous for its production of iron ore, is also a strong rugby league outpost, with 4 teams contesting the local premiership in 1990.
And those 4 teams, the Bulldogs, who are the premiers, the Dragons, United, and a new side, the Cobras. Apparently the Bulldogs and the Dragons wear the same jerseys as their counterparts in Sydney, but I'm wondering what design the Cobras can come up with. Well, this year, all of Western Australia will be joining us right throughout the rugby league season. The ABC reaching the remoter parts of Australia, and we're glad to have everybody with us. It's been a volatile off-season, but what's been fairly quiet has been the transfer of big-name players. Let's take a look at the significant player movements, and I'll make the traditional but foolhardy stab at which teams will make the final 5 7 months from now. Few people get it right, but why not have a go?
Canberra looks set to fire brilliantly again, though the Raiders have lost 2 classy inside backs, Kevin Walters and Ivan Henjak. As premiers, there'll be no easy weekends, but they'll have the confidence and composure of success. They look hungry again and should be up near the top. After 9 rounds last year, Balmain were in equal 6th place with 3 other teams. Then goal-kicking speedster Andy Courier arrived to make all the difference until the grand final. Courier is expected again, but Balmain don't know when. The Tigers' playing staff hasn't changed dramatically. A tremendous pack of forwards, a less convincing backline. Young Tim Brasher will be even better, but the veterans will battle injuries. It'll be a demanding mental challenge to make a 3rd grand final in a row, and what it really comes down to is enthusiasm. With Courier, Balmain to scrape into the 5. Souths have a similar roll call to last year. Even without Ian Roberts, they have a great forward depth and a pacey, unpredictable backline, but the Rabbitohs need Phil Blake on the field. Last year, Souths were the minor premiers. Their spirit should see them up with the leaders again. The big difference at Penrith is a new coach, Phil Gould. An injection of Gould's ideas will boost an already formidable lineup, though he'll be praying Peter Kelly and Peter Tunks avoid injury. The Panthers have the ability to go all the way. If Cronulla could reproduce the dazzling performance that annihilated Brisbane in the '89 playoff, they'd never be beaten. They've lost front rower Guy Pickin, but picked up the handy Laurie Spina and Craig Diamond. But can they keep all their backline stars and Gavin Miller on the field? Injury-free, the quiet achievers will be on the edge of the 5 again. Brisbane have no excuses. If you haven't played representative football, you're the odd man out in the Broncos. A more aggressive approach from the forwards will make them a tougher unit to crack, and Dale Shearer and Kevin Walters are the 2 guaranteed buys of the off-season. There's only one shadow over the rosy picture. Will the drama of Wally Lewis's sacking as captain undermine the club's spirit? That lies in Wally's hands. New coach Chris Anderson has a tough job at Canterbury. Depth is a worry, particularly in the backs. Under Anderson, the Bulldogs are likely to be more united, but they'll struggle to make the 5. Newcastle finished 7th last year, and with their home crowd roaring behind them, they're always hard to topple. The Knights' lineup is almost unchanged. It's a solid combination, getting better all the time, but I doubt they'll make the semis. Parramatta are set for a promising year because new coach Mick Cronin has strengthened his forward pack. Late last year, when Peter Sterling was injured, the younger players were forced to accept more responsibility, and they did it well. While Sterling and Kenny will be the linchpins, the Eels won't be a two-man team. St George were inconsistent last year, finishing 10th. It's difficult to see a marked improvement, especially now that Brian Johnston has retired, but the Dragons will be competitive. Easts were disappointing last year. They've lost several good players, but have balanced the ledger. Their hopes look to rest on a fit Hugh McGahn and Brett Papworth, but really they depend on the team's overall commitment. Manly had a disastrous 89. The off-season has seen 28 players depart. New coach Graham Lowe has a reputation for success, but his team has a patchy look. Quality players interspersed with unknowns. A fit Ian Roberts and a consistently firing Martin Bella are essential. Wests are showing signs of a resurgence. With Ivan Henjak to organise and direct their enthusiasm, the Magpies should cause plenty of trouble. They'll be in the hunt, but middle of the ruck may be their upper limit. The Gold Coast have had a considerable turnover with a marginal build-up and more zip in the backs. The Seagulls will be competitive again, but unlikely to climb the ladder. Norths have no obvious improvement in personnel, but under new coach Steve Martin, they could have more spirit and discipline. The change of coach will do them good, but not produce miracles. I'd like to say Illawarra will repeat their effort of last year's Panasonic Cup, week in, week out in the Winfield Cup. Unfortunately, Andy Gregory and Steve Hampson won't be back, and it's that guiding hand that the Steelers' willing workers need to get off the bottom. So as I gaze into my crystal ball, it's hard to see a team which is going to go backwards in its performance level. Of course, if someone goes forwards on the table, someone else has to slip. There are 6 teams that I think will improve. Penrith, Parramatta, Manly, West, the Gold Coast and Norths. But of that 6, only Parramatta will threaten last year's top 6. So my top 3 in any order: Canberra, Penrith and Brisbane. To make up a 5, add Souths and Balmain. Cronulla just miss out on ability, but the alleged Southern Division advantage could swing it their way instead of the Tigers. It wouldn't surprise me if that top 6 had 8 or 9 very even teams scratching, clawing and biting at their heels. Well, few would dispute that Canterbury were one of the dominant teams of the 80s, but quite a few are suggesting it'll be a leaner decade coming up for the Bulldogs. Steve Rebillard caught up with the new man in the hot seat at Belmore, Chris Anderson.
We always took a nucleus of the 88 grand final side. We've got 8 players who played in that. And we've got some good young kids coming through. I think it's exciting what can happen here in the next 2 or 3 years. All the pressure I get here is from the outside. I'm just here to do a job, something I want to do. I've done well at it before, so hopefully I just get on with the job and I'll be judged by how I go. I'm taking the coaching at 1 year at a time. I haven't taken any superannuation plans out. As you know, there's a fair turnover in this job. But I've got one thing in my favour, and I'm not keen to go back to a 9-5 job.
Chris Anderson knows a coach needs a sense of humour. It helps keep you sane while you try to keep your job. It may help having his father-in-law as chief executive, but he'll be keeping score like everyone else. In 2 decades in the game at the top level, Anderson played under some legendary coaches, from whom he hopes he's learned plenty.
Probably the most positive bloke I had was Vince Corrales, who coached me in 74, 75 in England. He was a character. He has a big, strong, great reputation in England for being a hard man, and he certainly carried it through to his coaching. But he was a tremendous character, yeah.
Anderson has nothing but happy memories from his time in England at Halifax, with whom he made 2 visits to Wembley, once as a winner. He's pleased to have played a part in league's rebirth in the old dart.
Yeah, I think there's been a resurgence of interest in it in England, a little bit to do with all the trouble they're having with the soccer. The crowds are staying away from that a little bit. Not crowds, I've seen a lot of family people stay away from it, don't take their kids to soccer so much, and the league is a good alternative. Plus, with the advent of new coaches, new Australian coaches, new ideas, the game has created a lot more interest over there.
Belmore must seem like a second home now to Anderson. Canterbury scouts snapped up the promising kid from Condobolin 22 years ago, and over those many seasons, he's evolved his own league philosophy.
Yeah, it's hard to put down on words. I just like a good positive attitude that we get out there and we enjoy ourselves, we enjoy our football, we enjoy our training. I never enjoyed the training so whatever too much. I enjoyed being at training, I enjoyed the atmosphere of being with the blokes. I think it's a tough game, it's a hard game, and if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do well at it.
Can Canterbury win the first premiership of the 90s? It's the impossible question, of course, at this time of the season. But knowing your own strengths and weaknesses gives a few clues to the task ahead.
I think our defence has been under pressure the last few years at Canterbury because our attack hasn't been up to standard. We've got some good attacking players here. I think it's just an attitude thing that we've got to get. We've got to put more effort and time into our attacking football.
Another potential problem for Anderson is divisions within the club, which occasionally have threatened to tear the Bulldogs apart. But he believes the current coaching staff can put an end to those days.
Yeah, they're definitely gone. I'm a Canterbury man through and through. We've got a lot more, Stan Cutler played a lot of games with Canterbury, Phil Charlton and Jeff Robinson, so we certainly bring a lot more club loyalty to the place than has been here in the past, I think.
It's no secret that club harmony has been a bit thin on the ground at Belmore in recent years. Warren Ryan got results but at a cost, and Phil Gould's stay was also a turbulent one. Nevertheless, Canterbury won 4 premierships in the 80s. That's a tough act to follow for Chris Anderson. His best chance must be in keeping the factions quiet and the minds of players and officials focused on football. Canterbury is a club which is used to getting results, and Warren, I'd say nothing less than a place in the top 5 will guarantee that Chris Anderson has the job 12 months from now.
Yes, Steve, coaching certainly is a cutthroat business, but I think Chris Anderson will deserve to get at least 2 years as coach if Canterbury this year can get at least on the edge of the 5, because he's going to have to work hard with limited talent. Let's have a look at the stats from the first half. The half-time statistics: South down in the scrums by 2 against Canterbury 7. No tight heads, so not real significance there. The penalties 9-4 to the Rabbitohs. Errors 23 to Canterbury, 19 against South Sydney, and overall the tackles, well, South have had to make more of those, 99 to 71. Metres gained, well, for South Sydney, they've made 751 metres in that first half, not that much difference, 676 for Canterbury. And time in possession for South Sydney, they've held the ball for 20 minutes out of the first half, and 21, well, that adds up to 41, so it's been a pretty long half. Canterbury just holding the ball a touch longer. Well, that first half provided quite a few mistakes by both teams. Arthur, early season nerves?
There's no doubt about it. Both teams are a little bit scratchy, but I think that both coaches will be looking for a little bit more ball control. Once they get that, they might settle down to the game a little bit better, but certainly, as I said, there's a couple of match winners out there. Charlie Saab, he's causing most headaches for Canterbury. I think Terry Lamb, although I think Paul Dunn's playing all right too, but he just had to settle down. He's given away a couple of silly penalties, but their biggest problem, Canterbury, is when they get inside South's 22. They don't know what options to take. They seem to be a little bit lost.
Yes, Canterbury haven't really been able to put it together in the opposition quarter. Souths have been throwing the ball around quite a bit, but they're offloading good passes, but that has led to some drop ball.
There's no doubt about it. Both sides have created the overlap on numerous occasions, but unfortunately they don't know what to do with it once they get the overlap.
South Sydney making their way back onto the field, leading by 8 points to 6. And it looks as if most of that forward pack are still out there. We were talking before the game about the battle between the forwards. If anything, the Canterbury front row have stood up pretty well.
Well, I've been very impressed with Dean Pay. He's a nice, tough customer. He's carted the ball out when he has to, and he certainly can defend. He's come up with 13 tackles.
Topping the tackle count for Canterbury. And now Canterbury making their way onto the field after a few words from Chris Anderson. I like Chris Anderson's attitude to football, as we saw in that half-time piece from Steve Rebillard. He wants to see a more attacking brand of football from Canterbury, but he wants them to enjoy the way they play football. I'm sure they will be a nice, tight, united club this year. Also Stan Cutler in reserve grade, so plenty of former Canterbury greats there.
Well, philosophy is all very well, but if you're not winning, I think you're going to have a few headaches, Chris.
That's true enough. Jeff Robinson also coaching the President's Cup. Down on the sideline is Johnny Pearce.
Well, news from the dressing room, of course. The error's got a bit of a mention. George Piggins would like to use this breed. He wants to play the deep game in the Canterbury round. Chris Anderson thinks that they can still win this game if they get their overalls on, get a little bit of control in their play, and then work down the south edges. And that's where their biggest hopes lie. It should be interesting, but at 8-6.
Well, there's no doubt that both teams are right in this match with just 2 points difference at the moment. Top tacklers in the first half for South Sydney, Wayne Chisholm, Sedaris and O'Day. And for Canterbury, Dean Pay leading the way, Dunn and Brokenshire. On the second half, it's Canterbury defending the southern end of the ground. The shadow's starting to creep across the ground. By the end of this half, I don't think Canterbury will be looking into the sun. Kick away from Wilson by Lamb, driving him way back. As always, that straight line of defence, moving downfield. Good tackle from Pay. Hill, driven backwards, good defence. That's the sort of defence that starts to build your confidence. I thought Canterbury looked just a little down on confidence and combination in that first half. Fennick pushes away from two, but not Farah. O'Day, just short of his own quarter line. Saab with the kick on the fourth. Bouncing away from Elchin. Good long kick, but still rolling. It's gone from just inside his own quarter to 10 metres out from the goal line. Elchin stops, starts, gets a pass away to Raymond. Player down in the back plate.
Yeah, Paul Dunn's down the back, and also Andrew Farah hurt himself in the tackle.
Paul Dunn didn't look too well. More to play the ball. Here's the incident involving Paul Dunn. The tackle on O'Day. And in fact, he may have been hit by his own player there. Dunn back on his feet but hobbling. Canterbury in possession, 10 metres inside South Sydney territory. Lamb steps off one, goes again, beat two men with a right foot step. The fifth tackle. Beats the dummy half. More, a delicate kick, bouncing away from Wilson. I think he's going to have to pick it up, or will he? No, it just trickles over the dead ball line. I thought for a moment Moore's judgment had been perfect.
He certainly was very casual about that, but there's no doubt that O'Neill was communicating with his fullback.
Sedaris plays it. Fennick, who's been involved right throughout the day, working hard, close to the ruck. 8-6 for South Sydney. Dunn seems to be okay, getting off Carroll there. Saab with the kick, so both teams relying on the kick heavily and early in this second half. Back there is Elchin. It's across field. Steps off his left, gets away from O'Day, and Lyons had left his man open. Good piece of work there by Raymond and Elchin. Moore, all on his own. Stepping. Good run from the halfback, who's under some pressure because in the reserve grade game, Ewan McGrady from Moree really did play a fine game. But here goes a penalty to the Bulldogs.
Now, there's a bit of doubt here whether Mario Fennick had marked up, but the penalty was certainly right. He'd played the ball. He was in the position to play the ball forward, and Fennick came from north side position.
It was a good game from Ewan McGrady, wasn't it, in reserve grade after?
Well, he's certainly got some pressure on this kid. This kid certainly can play football.
Very sharp performance by the reserve grade halfback. There's 3 players from Moree have been signed up by Canterbury this season. The Ryan brothers also playing in reserve grade. Here's Brokenshire, gets a good pass away to Moore. Moore steps, comes back looking for support. There's no one there. Where were they? Someone should have been there. Usually Terry Lamb would have been up in the movement. Dunn stands and unloads. Good run there by Pay. He gets it away too. Peets is just short. Desperate defence. And the referee has found that he's lost the ball as he hit the ground in that tackle. Good strong run by Peach, trying to find the line, threading his way through, desperate defence. In fact, the South Sydney hand just knocked the ball out of his grasp.
Certainly been playing well, the hooker. He's playing as well as Sedaris, there's no doubt about that.
Scrum screwing around. The penalty goes to South Sydney. The referee McCallum saying that the Canterbury forwards didn't pack in parallel to the goal line.
Chris Anderson, no doubt, would have been disappointed with young Kevin Moore. He stood up there for almost 10 seconds looking for a receiver, but no one came, so I'm sure that Chris will be cracking the whip there to make sure someone backs up.
Yeah, I think that was the result after. That was the second ruck after they were working for production on the third play. Then from a ruck move, the back line was very deep, as you indicated earlier, and they were waiting to put a production on the third ruck, but Kevin Moore was left post. It was an unfortunate for Canterbury.
He was entitled to have someone's support.
That's for sure.
Here's Michael Andrews. Gets it a pass away to Saab. Saab stretching out and showing some pace. Gets it past the hill. Back inside to Saab. He keeps it alive. Finds his winger. O'Neill gets the pass away along the ground. Coleman. Desperate tackle there by Lamb. Just manages to cut it down and then lays all over the top of him. Wilson. Fennick. Switches it. Coleman. Saab. Saab. Dangerous. Another tackle by Lamb manages to stop the movement. This is good football. Coleman. Fennick. Swivels around. There was no one there. And Canterbury up inside the 5. The referee was playing the advantage. And the penalty goes to South Sydney in a handy position for the penalty attempt. Canterbury on the back foot. All up in front of the referee. Well, the Canterbury defence was at 6s and 7s. With South Sydney switching the ball one way and then the other, getting passes away. They just couldn't regroup and get back for 10 metres or 5 metres.
A few of the players down there, John, seem to be gasping for breath down there. And is it all that hot down there?
Yeah, it's not that hot, Artie, but it's a very, very class game despite the turnovers. I've never seen ball movement like it. It's very good hands, particularly by the South Sydney side.
Oh, certainly a great ball. They just kept the ball alive here, but as I said, I think it was a sort of a professional foul. Definitely offside. Some great defence there by Terry Lamb, which stopped what could have been a try.
Certainly did string some passes together. Good backing up. Players coming from everywhere. In 1989, South Sydney kickers had a 70% success rate, the best in the competition. And all indications are that Charlie Saab is going to continue that good record. He has this one placed just 10 metres to the right of the upright. That is steered away. No, it's back between the posts. I thought it was going outside the right-hand upright, but between the posts. And South Sydney extend the lead to 4 points. They lead Canterbury 10-6.
It certainly wasn't the best-looking kick, but they're both worth the same as something from halfway.
Well, we put that one over from the sideline in the first half, which was a beauty. South continuing to apply the pressure when they've got possession.
I think the beauty of South's play really is Craig Coleman playing first off the ruck. He's a guy that never wears blinkers on the field. He's aware, good awareness around him, good field vision. Here's a costly error by South Sydney to give Canterbury some sort of chance.
Well, Andrew Farrah's kick looked as if it might be going to go out on the full, and I think that might have confused Terry Hill, and in the end he totally bungled it. That's a woeful error.
Certainly a bad mistake. Now Canterbury have a chance of scoring, putting some pressure on South.
Lamb sends it out to Farrah. Tries to get his arms free. Lamb again. Still going. Links up out wide with Brokenshire. He comes back inside, loses the ball. It's gone backwards as Pave drives on it. Pete. Important time here for Canterbury, but the ball's been lost. Oh, Pete has been busy but guilty of losing the ball a couple of times. Sedaris coming over the top on a crunching tackle.
Des Davidson, certainly a great hit there, just forcing Pete to lose the ball.
Saab. He's 15 metres out. Carroll. And Dunce managed to strip him of the ball. The referee is going to play the knock-on. He's ruled that Paul Dunn has actually pulled the ball out but dragged it forward. And doing so.
There's no doubt about it. Paul Dunn did strip the ball, and it was a knock-on. It was last play, South speed.
Almost very good work by Dunn to come up with possession. South Sydney feed. Referee will have it again. Let's see if the ball goes in the middle. Well, close to it that time. The South Sydney ball.
The scoreline so close, 1-1 is where Phil Blake will come onto the field shortly.
He looked pretty sharp in reserve grade. Coleman, Davidson behind Chisholm. Play on, Farrah towed through. He's taken out by Carroll, and the penalty goes to Canterbury Bankstown. Carroll coming in to tackle a man without the ball.
I think this possibly warranted the tower 5 minutes in the sin bin. This could have possibly been a try had he not taken out Farrah.
A real opportunity for Canterbury there. Good work by Farrah. Penalties, 11-6. Let's have another look at the incident here. First of all, good hands initially by South Sydney, but then the pass goes loose. And then as it spills wide, Farrah tries to keep it on the toe and did so well, but Carroll, with a big swinging arm, takes him down. So an important kick here for Terry Lamb. They're down by 4 points. He's in a handy kicking position, and Canterbury, through their skipper Terry Lamb, have decided to try and pick up the 2 points to bridge the gap rather than go for a try. Flags are up. So, Canterbury hit back. They're down now by just the 2 points. South Sydney 10, Canterbury 8. We've got 28 minutes of play remaining. There's George Piggins, the South Sydney coach. I wonder what's going through his mind. Hasn't been any replacements.
Well, I've no doubt about it's a nervous time. It's 10-6 here. He'd like to have a little bit of leeway, but then again, so would Chris Anderson. I think that he'd be thinking about replacements very shortly.
South Sydney have very strong reserve depth. And here's another mess-up from the kickoff. Well, Terry Lamb, of all people involved, and Henry Raymond, probably a misunderstanding. Looked as if nobody really called for that ball.
There's no doubt about this. What can we say? It's just a mess-up, isn't it, really? It shouldn't happen to first graders. Just needs someone who's prepared to take the ball on the full.
The only excuse, if we want to find one, is that they were looking into the sun. Farrah drops out. A low kick. Picked up by Lyons. Lyons is a nippy customer. Steps away for one. Lyons! Almost away. Desperate tackle by Dunn. Inside the quarter. Hill. Another tackle from Dunn. Carroll driving forward, taking him on up the middle. They're just 13 metres out. Andrews. Tackled by Gillespie. Sedaris comes across. Coleman picks up a runner. Chisholm bustling his way just a metre short. It's the fifth tackle. The ball's loose. And the referee will play the knock on. Chisholm hit in a solid tackle. Looks up to see who it was. Chisholm really hitting that ball on the burst. Shakes his head now as he tacks into the scrum. Canterbury almost paid the price of that dreadful mix-up from the kickoff. Lamb. Long pass out to Raymond. There's Phil Blake wondering when his turn will come, or if it will come today. 26 minutes remaining in the match. South Sydney leading 10-8. Dunn. Lifts it to Pete. Alchin. Keeping it alive. They move it wide. Langmack. Langmack is rounded up. Good tackle by Saab. And it goes now to Farrah for the kick. Kicks today have been pretty good on both sides. Depth and away from the fullbacks. Wilson
seem to be tiring a little bit. Their chasing team's very ordinary, I think.
Pete's up there with Dunn. These two really are getting through some work.
I think one of the major points to come out of the game today, Warren, is the fact that neither side seems to be playing with too much control. It seems to be safety last football. It's very entertaining for the crowd, but very frustrating for the coaches.
think you're dead right, John. The other thing, though, is that South Sydney, while they're throwing the ball around, look confident. Canterbury look a little hesitant.
Yes, well, Chris Anderson would love to have more control in the game. That's what he wanted at half-time, for them to settle down, get some control, and then perhaps they could crack South out wide.
Jason Alchin taking no risks. Didn't want to concede defeat to the scrum. He was almost in a position here to pick the ball up, but lets it dribble over the touchline.
Certainly a great kick by Mark Carroll. He has got a big kick, Mark Carroll. It's something that we probably could see more in the game.
More feeds. The referee wants it to be put in again, and he's also warning the forwards to not break early. This is a clean heel to Canterbury. Corcoran in. 10-4 the scrums for Canterbury, but still none against the feed. Corcoran. Penalty to Canterbury, Bankstown again for what has been a common infringement in this game, interference in the tackle, this time by Charlie Saab. He's over the top, still around the legs. Saab goes on with it, and just the extra push which Corcoran made sure the referee noticed by really hamming it up a little.
Just the missed tackles, Canterbury have got a whopping 22 against their name. South Sydney 9 missed tackles.
Canterbury. Lamb back inside to Farah. Tackle just half a metre short of the halfway line. Right in the centre of the field. Moore. Gillespie. His legs cut out from under him by Bennett. Dunn finds a collision with Davidson, who comes again. This time Davidson's got mates, but he finally is the one who wrestles Dunn to the ground. Dunn didn't really like it either, but that was a good contest between the two big fellas. Lamb, the dummy. Almost finds a hole. Didn't really have the room on the blind side. Moore. Hay. Slips it back well. Alchin goes, stops, goes. Gets it wide. Out it goes now to Raymond. Raymond juggles, holds onto it. O'Day comes in with help from Lyons. Lamb trying to turn the tide here. Out it goes to Dunn. Dunn puts it up in the air. It's the fifth tackle. Not too much pressure, and O'Neill takes it well. Tries to slip away and does so. O'Neill spinning down the touchline. Desperate tackle from Corcoran. Only just got hold of him, and it could have been shut the gate. Wilson, Coleman, Hill. Oh, beautiful tackle from Pete. Copybook tackle. Andrews, Carroll takes on Lamb. Lamb sets himself and drags him to the ground. Cesaris, Coleman, Davidson. South Sydney going forward. Just 2 points in the match. Coleman kicks in behind the line. It's going out towards the touch line and finds touch. Beautifully judged kick from Craig Coleman. For a moment I thought it was going to swing out a little too wide, but it just locked inside the touch line. That was a perfect kick, and just the kick needed to steady the situation.
Typical Craig Coleman kick there, but I'm sure that Anderson will revoke Paul Dunn's kicking licence after that effort. Here we are. Looks like Blake will be thrown into the play.
Canterbury ball. Lamb out to Alchin, I should say. Now it's Lamb. Can't get away from Andrews. Canterbury down the end of the field where they don't want to be. Alchin gets inside one. Now he unloads. Lamb meets Andrews. Moore gets it back inside to Pay. Pay going straight and hard as he has done all match. Moore, Langmack gets out to Gillespie. Back inside is Raymond, but well read by Lyons. Lyons just stepped inside and waited for Raymond to run into his arm. Moore, long pass out to Lamb. Lamb goes forward. Alchin, quick hands out to Farah. Good work. Farah stands. Moore is there again. Good backing up. Moore takes off now. Good pass. Out it goes now. Back inside from Robinson. Moore streaking for the line. Back inside. He has support. Puts it on the toe. It's knocked over the touchline by Wilson. Good football by Kevin Moore. He had Corcoran inside. Tried to link up with him.
There's no doubt about it. He's certainly a clever little player, Moore, here. He's some great short balls here. Draw the catching and drawing. He's certainly shown Shades of Barbar here backing up. He tried the little short kick. It was a little unfortunate, was kicked down, knocked down. So quite easily been a try there.
Kick tight head to South Sydney. And what a handy one too. That ball had been knocked over the touchline by South. Canterbury had every expectation of coming up with a scrum. They would have been 10 metres out from the goal line with 6 tackles. Instead, it's a South Sydney ball. Phil Blake on the field. And Wayne Chisholm has left the field, having a rest.
There's no doubt about this, as to whether Mario just lost the ball or whatever, but have a look at this. There's no doubt, there's no doubt that Mario's taking a dive there, and George Piggins won't be very happy with Mario Bennett there.
Well, I thought the tackle flipping out his leg by Gillespie was fairly late.
Oh, I disagree with you there. There's no doubt in my mind that he went for the con. And Greg McCallum, too, he didn't take it.
Yes, have a look at David Gillespie here at the back of the ruck. He just pulls Mario's leg.
I'll take it back, John.
Just enough.
Very humble apology from Arthur Regan.
Sorry, Mario.
You're a long way up there, mate.
It is. We're up in the clouds here. We're a long way away.
We might hear more about that in the paper if it has a bearing on the result.
Well, and it could well have a bearing on the result. South Sydney leading Canterbury 10 points to 8. If Terry Lamb can pop this, it'll level the scores.
We all know what George Piggins' relationships with the referees is, and I don't think it'll endear them to him at all.
Terry Lamb sets himself, moves in, hits it well, straight between the posts. Lamb feeling no pressure. The Canterbury skipper gets on level terms with South Sydney. It's 10-all. There's 18 minutes remaining in the match, and George Piggins has a frown. Well, there's never been much in this match right throughout. With 6-all, now it's 10-all. Who can come home the stronger? These teams have been playing four-quarter football up until this match. This is 80 minutes, 2 solid halves, and it's been a very strenuous game. Plenty of effort involved in both sides' game today. Gillespie. Alton backs up well. Alton in the clear, slips the pass back inside, but it's gone loose. He was looking for Pete. Didn't quite find his man. Didn't have the ball firmly in his hands. The pass was slipped away from him. And that's a blow for Canterbury, because they were suddenly starting to find the breaks.
He certainly did well there, Jimmy Sedaris. He made the tackle previously and then fell on the loose ball. He got back and covered.
There's Sedaris again on the loose ball. South Sydney has been called on to make 145 tackles, 32 more than Canterbury. Moore sends the ball on the blind side to Corcoran. Corcoran's almost out of the tackle of Coleman. In fact, he finally did break loose, but O'Neill came over the top. Robinson, wrapped up by Carroll and also Fennick. 8 metres short of halfway.
Just in the last couple of minutes, Canterbury have busted South on numerous occasions.
Nelson is looking particularly dangerous. He looks full of running. Pete goes to the line, then comes back. Gets the pass away. Out it goes now to Lamb. Lamb in the clear, looking for support. Comes to Wilson. Spins away from him. No one there when he needed them. They were looming up, but not quite at his shoulder. Moore sees plenty of room on the outside. Farah, Langmack, back to Farah. On it goes now to Elton. Elton sets sail. Flicks it out to Langmack. Has Raymond in the clear. Raymond to the line. Can he get it down? Yes. Raymond has scored in the corner. What a fine try for Canterbury. They hit the lead by 14 points to 10. Great hands to keep that ball alive, and Raymond made no mistake. Well, they kept the ball alive. Great pass out there to Lamb. Lamb found open spaces. As he came to Wilson, there was no one there. Moore not quite with him, but he managed to stand in the tackle. They knew that the chance was on out wide. They had the numbers. Langmack was screaming for it. Farah to Langmack. He runs out of room, but gets it back. They keep changing the direction. Finally, it's Alton who slips a good ball away. Langmack handling for the third time in the movement. Raymond manages to just get away from O'Day, and he flings the ball down in glee.
This was just a result of pressure. This is just keeping the ball alive. Some great backing up, great support play. Everyone getting involved and making themselves available. Certainly a great Canterbury try.
And Henry Raymond manages to just break free of the desperate O'Day tackle. That was the fair try. The ball bounced up in the air, but he firmly planted it. And Henry Raymond, Canterbury's Rookie of the Year in 1987. A few years ago now, and Raymond wants to be a regular first-grade player this season. Now this is another very important kick for Lamb, because if he can land this one, the lead will be 6 points. Very difficult for South Sydney to get back in the lead. He moves into it, out wide. The kick is a good one, just fading wide of the post at the last moment. So the score remains. Canterbury Bankstown, 14. South Sydney, 10.
Yeah, well, just skill with the hands is the key to this one here. There's Farah with the ball now. Corcoran back inside the Farah again. He flicks it back to Jason Alchin. Alchin's looking for Langmack. He knows there's someone on his line side. Flicks it out to Henry Raymond to win. But a feature of that try was, of course, the pass by Mitch Newton that put Terry Lamb through.
Well, they're fairly happy there, Canterbury, but they're not so happy now because this kick has been missed by all of the Canterbury players. It's gone dead in goal, and it's going to be a dropout from between the posts.
Certainly been very poor today. They're receiving from the kicks.
Charlie Sarge managing to find the open spaces. A couple of players in there. In fact, it did come off the hand there of, I think it was David Gillespie.
There's no doubt both coaches will work on that during the week.
So here's an opportunity for South Sydney. They've got time. There's 13 minutes remaining on the clock. South down by 4 points. O'Neill. Can't get away from the diving tackle of Robinson. Carroll. Driven into the ground by Brokenshire. It's pretty hot out there. There's Wayne Chisholm. Might have got a bump on the head as well. South still in possession. Sedaris trying to fight his way to his feet. Coleman holds it up for Andrews. Andrews in space. Gets it out to Blake, but Blake has just dropped it in front of him. Looks to take his eye off the ball.
There's no doubt. I think he passed it a bit too soon here. He should have straightened it up. He made the break, Andrews. Beautiful ball here. Onto Andrews. Andrews should have straightened it up, cut back in. He coughed it up cold. He didn't commit to defence, in my opinion.
Also, the pass a little high as well. Really hit Blake high up on the arm. And it was such a short pass, it gave him very little chance of taking it. Canterbury in possession. They need to steady the game up here. Make sure they make no mistakes in their own territory. Davidson and also Andrews drive Lamb back. 9 metres out from his own line. The replacement on the field there for Canterbury Bankstown.
Yes, Mitch Newton, 21's on for Dean Pay, Warren.
Dunn, Lamb. Moore at dummy half. Goes himself. He has put in a terrier of a performance. Kevin Moore. Farah steps away from one. Oh, poor pass intercepted by Sedaris. Hill. Farah realised he was in trouble. He wanted to get the kick away and threw a poor pass. Saab. Still going. His Saab has support. There is Wilson. Back on the inside was Andrews. Wilson takes the tackle, but a chance now for South Sydney. Everyone massed on the right-hand side of the field. Blake flips it away to Fennick. Fennick is just 3 metres short. Canterbury on the rope. They lead by 4 points. Blake in a dummy half. And the penalty has gone to South Sydney. And Corcoran, I think it is going to be in the sin bin. Corcoran given 10 minutes in the sin bin. He'll only be back on the field for 1 minute of the match.
It'll be interesting here if you have a look at the replay whether it was Corcoran or Langmack. I think Langmack had a lot to do with this slowing down the play the ball.
South are going for the try. Quick tap. Right in front of the post. Blake still going. Blake dives for the line. Held up. Bill Blake held up over the line. Desperate defence by Canterbury Bankstown, clinging to this lead. Bill Blake.
Bill Blake going in low. A great tackle by Kevin Moore once again. Certainly a great tackle. He's having a great game, Kevin Moore.
What would you have done in that situation with a penalty, Arthur? At 14-10.
Well, there's still plenty of time. I think he had to take the 2 points.
Penalty goes to Canterbury Bankstown. Charlie Saab trying to drag the player back into the in-goal area. Andrews in there too after the tackle had been effected, according to the referee. It must have been a touch-and-go decision there. Canterbury having a few let-offs here. Blake held up over the line. The penalty there. South 10, Canterbury 14, and there's 9.5 minutes remaining. Alchin in a dummy half. Stuttering run. Gets away from Davidson. Really left Davidson grasping at air. Gillespie. Good tackle by Blake around his legs. Lamb in a dummy half. Langbank kicks high. Forces Wilson to come forward to the ball. Takes it well. Under pressure from Farah. They move it wide now. Out it goes to Blake. He's cut down by Terry Lamb. That was a great tackle because Blake was right in the middle of a step. Almost left Lamb, but he held on. Fennick has support, but the ball has been spilled. There's a replacement on the field. I think that's Steve Maven, and he's dropped the ball. Didn't have anyone in front of him. That is Maven. South had numbers, plenty of support out there. Fennick knew which way to go, and Maven had it on his fingertips and dropped it.
Certainly a great opportunity when begging there. That had try written all over it.
If South Sydney do lose this match, I think they'll be remembering that penalty which went against Mario Fennick. It looked as if it could have gone the other way. South would have been taking play out of their territory. Instead, Canterbury were able to pop the penalty. Not that that won the game or got them in front. It certainly was a turning point. Canterbury, Dunn. Back wide of Gillespie, but it's with Alchin. Alchin going well. As this game's gone on, Alchin seems to be growing in confidence. That injury not worrying him at all at the moment. He really is starting to run with plenty of gusto. Langmack stands in the tackle. Back it goes to Moore. Moore has been injecting himself into everything in the last 15 minutes. It's 26 metres out from the South Sydney line. Dunn has Pete coming around him. Takes the tackle. It's the 5th. 20 metres out. Lamb puts it high. Wilson under pressure. They're all coming through. Pressure on Wilson, but he takes it beautifully. They arrive just too late to barrel him, and that'll come back to the 22 for a tap. Well, there was plenty of chasers coming through.
Certainly a great take here, but there's great protection here from Adam O'Neill too, if you have a look. A great take under pressure.
O'Neill did do everything right. He jumped in the air, made it look as if he was going for the ball, did a pretty good job of disguising it. So now it's with South Sydney, and the home crowd starting to get in behind their team. Blake throws it wide. Maven gets it out to Lyons. Lyons takes on Raymond. Back inside, it's gathered in by Farah. Canterbury come up with possession. A bit of panic there.
There's no doubt about they're starting to play a bit of catch-up football, South. They're just sort of settled down.
Newton takes the ball up the middle.
That's Simon Dilly's 25. He's going on for Brockenshire.
Methodical football here by Canterbury. Canterbury leading 14 points to 10. Gillespie loses the ball. South Sydney come up with it through Andrews. Well, another chance now for the Rabbitohs. Sadara sends it out to Davidson. Saad gets it wide. Blake holds it up. Still going. Tackled by Farah. Farah, very solid defender. It's on the halfway line as O'Neill has a run himself. Blake at dummy half. Saad. Coleman still going. Saab has it again. Davidson doesn't get the pass. Saab struggling out of tackles. Desperate tackle in the end from Corcoran. 32 metres out. South Sydney need a try. Back it goes to Hill. Had Blake looming up outside him. It's the 5th tackle. What will South do? Coleman goes the blind side. Stabs the ball in behind the line. Moore reads it beautifully. He was positioned well. That wasn't the best piece of football by Craig Coleman. So now a chance for Canterbury to hold the ball in their own territory. No mistake football's what's required. Newton's lost the ball. South slow to realise it. Hill dives desperately in on it. O'Neill finally gathers, and it's play on. O'Neill still with the ball. Almost tackled there. The referee says it's okay. Play on. Out it goes to Wilson. Chance for South Sydney now. They're down by 4 points. They need a converted try. Coleman interfered with in the play. The ball there by Dunn. Blake has the ball. Out it goes to Andrews. Tucked away from one tackle. Andrews. O'Neill juggles it. Hangs on. Just 3 metres short. South well spread. Canterbury a stretch. Bennett goes himself. He's lost the ball. And Dunn picks it up. Well, another let off for Canterbury. The handling on both sides hasn't been 100% throughout the match.
There's no doubt that Andrews might have taken the wrong option. He had support on the outside, and I think if he'd elected to pass the ball, short passing burst might have seen it try in the corner.
So Canterbury now once more in possession in their own territory. Will they hold it this time for 6 tackles? Lamb slips it back to Peace. We're inside the 5-minute mark. Farah tries to get the kick in. It rebounds. Canterbury end up in possession, but the penalty has gone to Canterbury, Bankstown. That ball deflected from one player to another. And I'm pretty sure referee McCallum has ruled that Canterbury were offside. Now Lamb disputing the decision, but I'm afraid it's going to make no difference, Terry. Lamb probably saying that ball was a charge down.
Well, I didn't see whether it was just a very ordinary kick by Farah. Yes, it was a charge down. There's no doubt about that.
Came off the foot of Sidaris.
It should have been play on.
South with another chance now. Coleman goes back. Wilson. Driven backwards towards the quarter line. He's lost the ball. Well, Wilson complaining to the referees that he should have been called held. But Terry Lamb screaming in there with support, managing to rip the ball out of his arm. And that forces the scrum. So yet another chance now for Canterbury Bankstown to hang on, clinging to a 14 points to 10 lead.
And George Beacons has injected number 20, Darryl Trindle, into the game. Warren,
win against the head. Thanks, John. Win against the head for South Sydney. So Trindle on the field. Saab has lost the ball.
I think Greg McCallum's fires become very ordinary there. I think he was entitled to give South a penalty here. There's no way at any time did Canterbury retire.
Saab has played a great game, but showing his inexperience that time. He took his eye off the ball. It was a perfect pass, but he was looking straight at the man moving up on him. As Arthur said, maybe that man was inside the 5, but that's not Saab's job to worry about. Well, how many let-offs can Canterbury have here in terms of retaining possession after they've handed it over? Corcoran comes in and he's lost the ball. This is schoolboy stuff. It's worse than schoolboy stuff this last couple of minutes. Saab has it. Blake. Lyons. Can he get outside his wing? He goes back inside. Ducking. A Johnny Ferguson run from Lyons. Finally tackled. 23 minutes out. Very close to full time. 4 points in it. Canterbury still leading. Dunn goes on with the tackle, surely. Referee says play on. Coleman out to Hill. Hill is tackled just outside the quarter area. Sidaris a dummy half. He stumbles and fumbles. I thought the ball initially came off his foot, but then his hands also knocked it forward, and he admitted the mistake. Well, Paul Langman feeling the pressure just like any of the younger players out there.
There have been 2 scrum wins against the head here. There's no doubt that Chris Anderson will be hoping that Peach can win the ball here in this situation.
Canterbury 14, South Sydney 10, penalty to Canterbury. Referee saying that South Sydney haven't come in parallel to the goal line again. He's unhappy with the front row. He awarded the same penalty in the first half, but it's a fairly unusual one.
There's no doubt that Terry Lamb was just pressing to his players just to eat the tackle count on. Just play out the 6.
Elton wants to know whether it's full time. It must be very close. Surely only seconds remaining. Canterbury has possession. They must be able to play out time with 6 tackles here. Listen to the shouting going on amongst the Canterbury players. Don't let them pull out the ball. Just run from dummy half is the call. Kevin Moore goes in there. He ducks under Hill. He holds onto him. Hill will want to play the ball. Now it's Gillespie. They're just wrapping that ball up. It's as precious as a diamond. There's the siren. Canterbury jubilant. What a performance. They've come from behind. So, after a stirring struggle, South Sydney can count themselves unlucky, but Canterbury have won the second half and the game. They win 14 points to 10.
This is ABC Sport, bringing all Australia Rugby League action at its best, live and uninterrupted.
Well, an amazing game in the end. Both teams making so many mistakes that they almost were giving away victory. But Canterbury ending up the winners, 14 points to 10 after coming from behind. 2 tries to Canterbury, going to Lamb and Raymond. Lamb kicked 3 goals. For South Sydney, a try to Hill. Who was that? And 3 goals to Charlie Saab. Down on the sideline with Johnny Peard is the Canterbury captain, Terry Lamb.
Oh, Terry, win your first game of the season and on the road too. That's a bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we trained pretty well this week. We didn't come out and play well, but we still got over the top, and a win first up script for fantastic. We really aimed for this first one.
Yeah, well, from the sideline, looked at such a frenetic pace. Was that how it appeared on the field? There was a lot of errors and a lot of turnovers.
Well, that's right. It was played quick. Like you said, we dropped the ball a lot, and so did they. And when whoever dropped the ball, the other team picked it up and just went on with it. But we played some open football too.
Yeah, it was very, very entertaining stuff, but not much control either.
No, it was a forwards game. Them forwards are hitting very hard and jolting the ball out of the opposition.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Johnny.
Terry Lamb, a very happy man indeed. Well, let's find out who was Arthur Beetson's best on the field today. Beetson's best, the Canterbury halfback Kevin Moore. At half-time, we were wondering whether he would be able to keep Ewan McGrady out of the team next week, but he's really come on in the second half.
He certainly played well today. The kid's under more pressure than most people. I thought he played very well out there today. His scheming was great. His defence was first class. I also thought that Terry Lamb certainly played well too. He certainly played a great captain's knock.
There's some great performances by the 2 Canterbury halves there today. So let's have a look at tomorrow's round. Some great games coming up to kick off the season, to complete round 1. Tonight, the Gold Coast take on Cronulla. Then tomorrow, it's West versus Brisbane, Balmain versus Manly, Newcastle versus Norths, Parramatta versus Penrith, and Illawarra versus East. Let's have a quick look at my tips. Not that they always come home. Cronulla to beat the Gold Coast, though the Gold Coast did beat Cronulla up there at Tweed Heads last year. Brisbane should be too classy for West. Balmain to beat Manly, Newcastle to beat Norths. Penrith and Parramatta, this will be a tough one. Penrith without 3 of their big names, Gaia, Cartwright and Kelly, and East to beat Illawarra. Arthur, do you agree with any of those?
Mate, I agree with most of them, except maybe Parramatta against Penrith. I think Parramatta will turn the tables on Penrith.
Well, I must agree. I was very tempted to go with Parramatta there because without those 3 big names, and Parramatta look like they're going to have the goods anyway. So I hope you've enjoyed today's game, the first one of the season. May not have been classical football right throughout the match, but certainly think both teams are out there giving it their best shot, and they'll be better for this run. Some fine football in the end by Canterbury Bankstown, and they've come out winners. Next week's game, Penrith versus Balmain at Penrith Park. That should be a tremendous struggle. Join us again next week for Saturday Super League.